Good morning, and welcome to all my fans and subscribers. As my channel is in its infancy, I will be trialling all sorts of different types of content to see what gets the best reception and covering a diverse range of my passions and enthusiasms. Today shall be a review of a male perfume which I love and can highly recommend to anyone who is looking for a certain type of fragrance. I can say that most definitely I have sampled and own a considerable amount of fragrances, which I may well also give reviews upon in future videos upon my channel. This particular fragrance is one of my most complimented concoctions, and I would say has a universal appeal amongst the greater public. I speak, of course, of Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extrême, which you can obviously see on my camera. This fragrance is, in my humble opinion, the best fresh fragrance on the current market, with a zesty charm, and works perfectly, as the name indicates, after a grueling session at the gym or on the sporting field. Indeed, it does have a wide-ranging approval, as I alluded to, and I have garnered much praise for it, and could easily be used in a professional office or work setting. As I said, it is this flexibility and adaptability that really I think sets it apart from the majority of other fragrances out there on the market at the current time. Additionally, it's not a fragrance I often smell from other people, so I believe that it could be quite a unique or underrated fragrance, although it does seem to be relatively popular. Within the Chanel Allure Homme Sport brand, or within the Chanel family, I believe that this particular derivation, the Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extrême, and as I said, be very careful to make sure that you do get that particular type, is definitely the best from that particular house, as I said again in my own humble opinion. Its price points, however, are rather on the expensive side. A quick Google search prior to this video, whilst I conducted my research, does reveal an average retail price of roughly about £66 in English money, which many might balk at. However, I do believe, and as I will further go into in greater detail on my channel, should this perfume side be something which I look to explore upon further, I do believe that the olfactory sense, which is your sense of smell, is the most potent sense that we have, and that this fragrance is worth the investment sometimes for its all-purpose excellence. Now, I know what a lot of you might be thinking. You might be thinking, what does this particular fragrance smell like? Have I tested it? What sort of effect might it have? Well, unfortunately, technology has not advanced yet to the level where I can offer you a chance to smell the fragrance through the power of YouTube. However, what I have done is I have looked at the research and all the ingredients for the particular fragrance, which I will detail now. The fragrance notes, according to basenotes.net, include mint, mandarin, sage, sandalwood, white musk, tonka bean, and cedarwood. Now, as I said, the first time that I smelt this particular fragrance, I was blown away by it's almost incredible first performance and the impression which I gained from it. It's definitely a fragrance that upon first smell, you're almost going to fall in love with, and you will find yourself being very passionate about, particularly if you're what one might call a frag head within the fragrance community. So someone who really rates or really finds passion in rating and looking and exploring the fragrance world. What I would also say that this particular fragrance does is that it does have an extremely good longevity to it. Within even a few hours, you'll still be able to smell that freshness on your skin, and other people will still be able to compliment or comment on the fragrance which you're wearing. And that's really what I say when I sort of say that sometimes a fragrance is worth paying that extra money for, because a lot of the time with more cheap or less expensive options, it can mean that the fragrance itself dissipates much quicker than it might otherwise do with more expensive fragrances such as this one. Now, as I said, those combination of ingredients really infuse that real wholesome freshness vibe, and they work to synthesize beautifully with the body's chemistry. Now, I understand a lot of you will also, if you're more familiar with fragrances, will also appreciate that sometimes fragrances will smell different on different people because of the way that they interact. With the way that fragrance will interact differently with different people's bodies or different people's skins, to be more precise. What I would say is that I think this particular fragrance is one of those which, whilst it might do so, I think it's sort of, from the limited people that I have smelled it upon, has made it very sort of, it seems to have a good effect on most people that wear it. Now, what I should do is I should add the caveat, because a lot of people will be aware that I am complimenting this fragrance quite considerably, that I am in no way sponsored by Chanel to commend this perfume. But really, the love and passion that I have for this particular fragrance is all as a result of the multitude, and I mean a plethora, of compliments which I've gained from it. The fact that its performance is exceptional, and that it's, as I said, really, really worthwhile. I think if you're sort of starting out on your fragrance journey, or if you've only got room for one or two particular fragrances, I think this really does make quite a statement, and it could even be a signature scent because of its universality in terms of how it can be used and in which settings. In terms of the seasons which you wear fragrances in, I think for this particular one, it is kind of an all-season fragrance. But what I would say is that I do believe it's kind of better sometimes in the summer. As I said, it's one of the more fresh fragrances, and so I typically, when I sort of smell it, I can really picture that sort of summer vibe, with all the sort of freshness that can be associated with it. Now, as I said, we're looking at the bottle here. It's extremely chic, as you can see as we sort of move in. I've got a few sort of minor scrapes or dents on the bottle. I tend to like to take my fragrances around with me, or carry them, because if you ever need an extra little spray, or you're feeling like a sort of pick me up, then I can really recommend this one. If you're, as I said, if you've indulged in any sort of heavy exertion or lifting things, then a quick spruce up with this could be just the ticket. Now, as I said, I'm sort of a silver, sort of metallic chicness to it, so it'd really do well, as I said, sort of placed anywhere. It's definitely a very aesthetic looking bottle. And yes, so I believe that what I'd like to do now is sort of give it my sort of ratings, really, which I will probably do for all of the fragrances which I review upon my channel. There will be quite a considerable amount of them, and probably will go into greater detail on other fragrances within my arsenal of them. But this is, as I said, a very much a test or trial for my channel. And the fragrance which I've sort of talked about today, as I said, Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extrême. If you find yourself in a perfume shop or Boots or anywhere else that sells these sort of perfumes, as I said, well worth getting a testing sample, and I definitely would recommend it as a good investment based on my own personal experiences with it. I'm starting off with quite a strong rating for this first fragrance, or premier fragrance, which I'm reviewing on my channel, and I would give this fragrance a 9 out of 10 overall. An extremely high rating, as you'll sort of see as we move along, but one that I feel it's well worth and well deserving of. So many thanks for all of you for tuning in for this first review of my initial fragrance, Chanel Allure Homme Sport Eau Extrême, and all of you take care of yourselves and enjoy the rest of your days wherever you are.